Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V, where we are intentional about connecting you with other entrepreneurs that have overcome and want to provide value to the audience. It's Dr. V here, where our coaching program teaches nurses how to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money and owning their own time. So our featured guest today is a gem, Dr. Danielle McCamey. I said that right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
hallelujah. Okay, so now tell us a little bit about you. So if someone were to ask who you were, so tell us about who you are.
Yeah, so beyond the, running my resume down, my mission in life is to build communities and create opportunities and taking everyone that I can along with me. So that has been kind of like the undertones of my career, my intentional focus of where I am in my life space and place right now. So a builder of community and a creator of communities. So to run the resume down, Dr. Danielle McCamey. I currently live in Alexandria, Virginia. I just accepted a position operating in a position as the Assistant Dean of Clinical Practice and Relationships and an Assistant Professor at the Johns Hopkins University School of Nursing. Yes.
Yes.
But my passion, my love lies in my nonprofit, DNPs of Color. We are a 501c3 nonprofit nursing organization where our focus is essentially building community and creating opportunities for nurses of color. And we do that through networking, mentorship, and advocacy, because the ultimate goal is to transform the landscape of nursing practice to include more diversity. So that's where I am and who I am today.
Currently. I love it. So now tell me, so we're gonna go way back. Okay, we're gonna go way back. All right. We're gonna go way back to when you first became a nurse. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my nursing life was inspired by my mom, who did home care nursing. And so that got me thinking maybe I should pursue nursing, and she encouraged me. I started my nursing career in post anesthesia care, the recovery room, despite many mentors and those suggesting I should start off in
Med-surg.
I said I do my rotations in nursing. Med-surg ain't for me. But hats off to the med-surg nurses, because that requires a lot of skill, time management, prioritize it. And that just wasn't my calling. So I went into critical care and started off in recovery. Loved that. Continued to be in perioperative services for a while, and then made the transition to medical ICU, where I really learned the essence of critical care, because those patients were super duper sick for a long time. And I really enjoyed the dynamic nature of critical care, to be able to see people and treat people at their most vulnerable times, and either bridge them to recovery or usher them to end of life. I enjoyed both aspects of critical care, and then went on to pursue my advanced practice degree, but not because I wanted to. It was because my great uncle, Mike, who is a father figure in my life, and whatever he says to me is gospel, and I follow it. But I was kicking and screaming. He was like, "You need to go back and be a nurse practitioner." And I was like, I'm doing great as a nurse. I'm making dollars. I'm doing local travel. The money is coming through. I'm finding where the money resides. And he was like, the way the landscape of healthcare is moving, there's a critical shortage for physicians in primary care, community care, and nurse practitioners are gaining more popularity, and their scope is increasing. And I was like, so because
if you say so.
So I ended up pursuing my master's at Georgetown, and at the time they had a scholarship. So I was like, well, who am I to deny you to pay for my education?
That's right. That's right.
So we did that and graduated and ended up making a career in advanced practice with the surgical critical care team at a hospital in DC. I still do that on the side because I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I still need that little sprinkling. But the difference is it's on my time, so I choose when to go back, which makes it that much more enjoyable.
Sweet. I love it. I love it. I love it. So now you went and you got your DNP. And once you got your DNP, now how long have you had your DNP?
I graduated in 2017.
2017. Okay. So once you got your DNP, now explain to me how this mission came about with the DNPs of Color.
Girl, so I wasn't a DMP believer. I was of that camp, like, what's in it for me? Um, and again, another mentor dropped some dimes on me and was like, you got to go back, and this is why. And then a scholarship came about, and I said, who am I to deny you to pay for my education? So I eventually became a drinker of the Kool-Aid and wanted to share the Kool-Aid with others, but the story wasn't always that glamorous. So I went to a predominantly white institution, and I was at the start of my program the only Black woman. So, day one, I'm going in, I'm like, yeah, maybe there's going to be another one. And so I go in, I'm like, ain't none. Just me. So I was like, okay, cool. We used to this type of atmosphere. Let's keep it pushing. And
That's right.
so, but doctoral studies is hard.
Let me tell you.
And I was the first in my family to pursue it, and I just had no one to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
And but I understood the significance and the importance of me getting that paper, for my community, for my ancestors, for my family. And I struggled. I tried to go to faculty to express my struggle because at the time I was taking care of an elderly family member. I was helping to finance my mom with some things. So there was multiple hands and multiple buckets, but that's kind of our lived experience as people of color. And I couldn't really, get them to understand like this assignment going to be late because I had to, drop so-and-so off at their doctor's appointment. And we ended up having to go to the ER and we were there all night. So I really was like, I need someone that understands where I'm coming from, where just one look like.
Right, right.
And so I tried to look for a space that was specific to nurses of color pursuing their DNP in the existing organization. Because I'm like, why reinvent the wheel? There's got to be something out here for us.
Right.
Nothing. And I actually pitched the idea to a couple of organizations, but it didn't align with their mission. So I was like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and make this Facebook group. And so I did that. And literally within a couple of months, the community exploded with people with similar desires to have a community to lean on, to find inspiration, to network with, to find mentors. And so it just organically grew into this thing that I didn't realize was an actual movement that people were like, oh, y'all are a force to be reckoned with. We need to pay attention to DNPs of Color. So fast forward to today, we're about over 2,000 people in our community. Yeah. And not officially a membership-based organization, but moving toward that. There's lots of paperwork that we have to, finish with bylaws and all that kind of stuff to move toward that model. But yeah, it has really grown, and it has been such a great opportunity to lead such a powerful group of individuals. It's amazing.
Yes, I have seen, I remember that the first time that I saw DNPs of Color, and I was like, let's see what this is about. And then the first time, of course, I talked to you, I thought that you were just super inspirational and just amazing. And so I was like, yeah, we all need to band together to make this happen.
Yes.
One of the things that I did now, I wasn't like I ain't jumping to the pool by myself. I went back to school with somebody.
I wish I got that memo.
I was like, what we not doing to do this by ourselves. No. Nobody, not me. And so I went back to school with one of my friends. But it is super important that you have someone to lean on for that.
Yes.
So now the ultimate mission. So tell us some things that you have coming up for DNPs of Color. You were just at a conference. We talked about that before we got on.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so going back to the conference that I had the opportunity to be invited to, it was hosted by the Illumination Foundation, and their mission is to disrupt the cycle of homelessness. But they
Mm,
put together this consortium called Together We Can, and it was a series of panel discussions from thought leaders, teachers, community folks, um, patients, providers, just a whole diverse group of panelists. And they gave us topics to discuss as panelists to try and find ways for collaboration, partnership, solutions, action plans, ways to pool resources to move the needle for health equity, and also to align with their mission in disrupting homelessness. And so being in that space was such a powerful, with such powerful energy, inspirational energy, because it was people that had done the work, doing the work, and want to create space for others to do their work and pool resources, and generally that air of wanting to collaborate and disband and disrupt the silos that have really hindered us.
that's
And
right.
really eliminate the competition. And it's like, we all have the same mission in some way, shape, or form. Let's band together. So that was inspirational. And I got the opportunity to do some major networking with some key stakeholders. And so there'll be some projects in development for DMPs of Color. So that's super exciting. And then with DMPs of Color, we have a lot of things popping coming up. The first couple of events, we're going to be offering a host of discussions for Nurses Week. We're going to kick off Nurses Week with celebrating Mary Eliza Mahoney's birthday with a presentation that will be done by Dr. Vivine Pierce McDaniel, talking about her life legacy and impact. And then we're going to have conversations with Maker Health around nursing innovation. And then we're going to do a Q&A discussion with Dr. Ketchy around her recent article discussing the experiences of nurse leaders of color in academia. So that's going to be really dope.
Mm.
And we have our second annual conference coming up in Baltimore. So really
Okay.
excited about that. It's going to be hybrid. So we'll have some virtual offerings and then in-person panel discussions, speakers, exhibit hall, the standard conference feel. And and then we have our virtual graduation, which we kicked off, was one of our signature events that's coming up in June. We usually try to have it for our June and December graduates. And I'm excited to announce we'll have Dr. Valina Gould as our commencement speaker. Really hyped about that.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what's popping right now. I'm really excited about it.
So is Gold, is she DNP or she's
She
CRNA?
is she's CNR, but her doctorate degree, she's an EDD.
Ah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So
Oh,
she's a
sweet.
doc, but in a different space.
Gotcha. She's super inspirational. I really like
Oh
her a
yes,
lot. Yeah, I've heard her
definitely.
on Clubhouse before, and
Hmm.
she's really
She's definitely a game changer for sure.
for sure. So now tell us about the conference. So what dates are the conference?
Yeah, so the conference theme is DMPs of Color, changing the game and forging new paths.
Mm-hmm.
It will be October 21st through 23rd. Like I mentioned, it'll be hybrid, and we're also going to have happy hour mixer that Friday for those coming in. We'll have the programming on Saturday with a gala in the evening. And then Sunday, we really want to add community service as part of our standard practice with the conferences, because we want to give back to the cities that we visit and also make a presence to provide some inspiration and also just paying things forward. So we're going to be highlighting a nonprofit in the community by means of philanthropy or doing a joint community service. So that will be hosted on Sunday.
I love it. I love it. Where you get all these ideas from? Like how you get so smart?
You know, it's about staying tapped in, tuned in, and walking and aligned with your passion and purpose, which is so key.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's interesting that you talked about that because my part of BNE, which is Black Nurse Entrepreneurs, and one of the things that we talk about is alignment.
Yes.
I used to I just spoke at the Nurse Recharge Summit and we were talking. I talked about the fact that, I felt like if we talk about the instances where Christine Gainey, where she, took all those patients, right? And,
Yes.
talk about those instances where we take patients when we just didn't know any better, right? Because I've been a nurse for 30 years and I just didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
And we come in and we take those patients and we feel like that there's going to be a target on our backs if we
Yes.
don't take the patients, and that's the way that we feed our families, right? And
Yeah.
so it was just rough there for a while. But
Yeah.
once I moved out, and I tell the story about how I walked into the COO's office of one of the organizations in which I served, and we were talking. And I said that we're going to work on the back end of this process when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to readmissions. I said, but then what we're going to do is we're going to turn around and we're going to walk on the front end of that.
Mm.
And what he said to me was because, we talked previously, prior to getting on this call, we talked previously about
Uh-huh.
the health equities and how we need to
Mm.
start, teaching our community how to eat well, how to exercise, how to do
Yes.
those things, because we really can't fix in 10 days what we have, what has been done in 10 years.
Hello?
So, and so I said, well, we're going to start in the front end. And he said, this is what he said to me. He said, we don't want to keep people out of the hospital. And what I said at that time, and I thought about it, and it was further solidified by, I was trying to change some things as far as the dietary restrictions and things of that
Yes.
nature because, I was hearing that people were coming into the hospital, they were diabetic, they were not being fed, like their carb levels were way high because they wanted to focus on patient satisfaction as opposed to actually giving the patient what they
Yeah.
needed. Oh yeah. And so I said, and so what I did know at that time was that I was not aligned. I was not
Mm.
aligned. And you have no idea how when you're not aligned, how that stresses your body,
Oh,
right?
facts. Yes.
And so I was like, I can't continue to stay here. And so
Mm.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to align because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And the
Say it
reality
louder. The people in the back.
and the reality is that we have been doing the same thing in healthcare for years. And we
Yes.
have got to change the game. We
Got
have
to
got
change
to
the
change the landscape.
game.
It is not, we cannot continue to carry on because I tell people all the time when I first started in the emergency department, between the hours of 4 and 7, we didn't have any patients in the emergency department. That is unheard of today.
Interesting.
Unheard of. You don't go into the emergency department without there being a patient in the emergency department
Yeah.
all the time, right? And so that's the thing is that we're getting worse and we've
Mm.
got to change the landscape and nurses are the key.
Facts, 1000%. And I think at that conference that I went to last week, they were like, just get out of the way and let nurses lead. That was the president of the AARP Foundation said that. And I was like, yes, get out
Yes.
of the way and let nurses lead. And if the pandemic didn't teach everyone that, then I mean, I don't know what pandemic they got through.
And that's so true because and I think back to the time that lady, and I say, talk about this lady all the time. She was super funny in Washington State. When
Oh,
you remember, I don't know if you remember, but she started talking about us that whenever we went on break, that we were playing cards. Do you remember that?
yes.
Mhm.
You took it way back.
And I was
Yes.
like, playing cards. And so like that night, I was like upset, right? I was like, I cannot believe she said that. And so I shared it. And of course, I shared my opinion, right? And then I woke up the next morning because, of course, my timeline is full of nurses, right? I woke up the next morning and I felt sorry for her.
And we know how to be petty Betties too. So
I was like, whew, that didn't go well for you, did that?
yeah, no, I never heard from her since. What she's doing now?
And that's the thing about nursing is that unfortunately, we have in the past, and hopefully this is a changing scope of things, is that we're changing it to where we are being more supportive of each other. And
Yes.
I think that that is the way that it is changing. But at the same time, if you come for us, you might
Oh,
get you might get what you ask for. Because I'm telling you, there are some people out there that are just like,
yeah, absolutely. And I think it underscores the power of banding together and the importance of banding together, whether we want to be petty Betties or advance this needle on health equity. I think that's the for sure in that.
I said, so Janice Linton, she said, shout out to Dr. V for having Dr.
Yes, Dr.
McCamey. She
Linton.
is
Can
amazing.
we pause for Dr. Linton? Because she is my ace. Let me tell you, love me some Janice Linton.
I love it. I love it. I love it. She said, visionary and leader extraordinaire at the table this morning. She exudes impact, insight, and influence.
Oh, Janice. Love her.
Yes, yes. So it does make a difference for sure whenever we do band together. And I think that that's one of the things that we have to be very clear on. So now the DNP conference is going to be when again? Say that one more time.
Yes, it will be October 21st through 23rd in Baltimore, Maryland.
So now where in Baltimore will it be?
We are still solidifying our venue, but can't reveal that just yet.
Okay, okay. Now can people purchase tickets at this moment? Are they
Yeah, so that information, so the tickets and stuff should be coming out. What's this month? I'm already in May. We'll probably open up registration in June.
June? Okay, cool.
Mhm.
And you don't have early bird or anything like
Oh
that?
yeah, we'll have early bird, we'll have late bird, and then we'll have no bird.
It's hilarious. You are too funny. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, it has been a pleasure having you on this morning.
Yes,
And
thank you for the
now
invitation.
you went. I do want to ask you this too.
Yes.
You went from the hospital environment to academia.
Just feet first, all up in the pool. We in here.
So now tell me why. Tell me why you did that.
Um, the alignment. I had always dabbled in academia in a sidestep, but never really committed because I was hardcore clinician. Then I just got to a place where my alignment um, changed to really make the plunge in academia because especially with DNPs of color, there's a lot of academic space in there. So making that move to academia was definitely the strategy to impact more in a larger scale, starting from upstream, um, if you will.
Hmm. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. Well, it has been a pleasure having you.
Yes, likewise.
Dr. McCamey. So we do have the Nurse Recharge Summit that's coming up again. We did have one April 23rd. It's coming up again. September 17th, we're going to have, it's going to be biannual. And so it was amazing the first time. I mean, the feedback was absolutely amazing. We'll be learning how to recharge and how to pivot into entrepreneurship if that is what nurses want. So if you choose, you can join us. I ask that you like and share this podcast.
Yeah.
And you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. Bye.